You are here and we are here. We are all in the same space, and the space belongs to us. But what you haven't perhaps encompassed yet is that this space is equal to the space of your entire planet. It's equal to the space of your entire existence. Therefore, whatever you create within this space on this night, you also create across the planet. You're going to come to understand more of this and what this means and how this can be encompassed into your lives as we continue our conversation with you. This one is not very impressed with the stick, but their muscles are just going to have to handle it. Now, in the beginning, in your spiritual inquiry, it was very typical for you in this room, to have understood that having spiritual awareness means that you generally have more control over your life. Now, we're going to invite some of you to argue with us, if you dare. Because typically, people enter spiritual inquiry through crisis, the doorway of crisis, agree? Whether it be emotional, physical, financial. And they enter spiritual inquiry because they're looking for an answer as to why. Now, that is the purest doorway to spiritual inquiry. When you reach the point where you don't know, and you're looking for the doorway to bring you something new. Yes? And yet, for many, spiritual inquiry over the practice of spiritual inquiry, you see, this is where it gets interesting. When people begin to practice spiritual inquiry, it tends to become a little bit about how do we maintain things in our lives? How do we control the flow? How do we use what we have to be able to determine what's going to happen, to make us feel safe in what we're doing? The doorway to spiritual inquiry is not about safety. It's not. But if you can get very comfortable understanding that there's always more, and you can never actually get to the place where you're completely settled, you're going to allow more and more and more understanding to seep into your human consciousness. So we want to begin this evening with that, because it's important for you to understand that manifesting on the planet at this time has nothing to do with control. It's actually the opposite. It has to do with letting go of control. It has to do with not knowing what to do. It has to do with not being safe. And that is why many of you will have found recently that some of the most miraculous things have happened to you in your most desperate hour. Agree? In your most desperate hour, some of the most miraculous things have occurred because you have reached the point where you realize you can't do it. You can't do it. But there are also many of you in this room who will not ask for assistance. There are many of you in this room who are now past the point of saying, "Dear God, please help. My guides, please assist me. Please, life, give me what I need." Because when you're in that final point of despair, you actually stop asking. Agree? And when you stop asking, you open the doorway within to that miracle. Now, it's not to say that there isn't support for you. And it isn't to say that there aren't constructs, and there aren't guides, and there aren't wonderful people in your lives that are going to assist you if you need it. But this is about understanding where your assistance comes from. And this is very important in terms of what we're going to be talking about with manifesting. Because if you understand that all your assistance comes from the exact same source, you begin to understand that you never, ever, ever have to look outside yourself for it. It emerges from within. So, we're going to begin by giving you a very simple, in our view, explanation of what it means to be sitting in the energy of the planet at this time. But first we want to show you what the planet has been sitting in up until this time. This is what we would call a cycle. The cycle of perpetual motion. Now, everything on your planet in the last 600,000 so years is based on this premise. Everything. It's cyclical. It keeps going. It has layers to it. Your seasons are based on this. Your economy is based on this. Fashion is based on this. Your menstrual cycle is based on this. Not all of you. The psyche is based on this. Cycles of moods and emotions are based on this. What's very interesting about this is that it actually rules how things are created on the planet. And the thing that's driving this is cause and effect. Cause and effect. It begins here. This is the beginning, this is creation, and it keeps going. So this is the way in which consciousness behaves in third dimensional reality. Now, third dimensional reality is life on planet Earth. What is it that you notice about this? Does it look like a vegetable? It's like the onion. Yes? Every time you think you've unraveled one layer of the onion, there's another one. Agree? And another one, and then another one, and then another one. Has anyone managed to get to the bottom of the onion? Because why? Because it's a never-ending cycle. You won't. A lot of people make a lot of money out of this cycle. Do you understand? And it's perfectly appropriate because that's how energy had been working on the planet for many thousands of years. However, the whole paradigm shift on the planet, the whole shift in energy, the raising of the vibrational frequency, is all shifting consciousness into a different paradigm where it behaves in a different way. Manifesting in the old paradigm, based on cause and effect, you go from A to B. Agree? What do you need to get from A to B? Energy. Action. Resources. Yes? And a lot of effort. True? Isn't this what your education systems are built upon? You can't get anywhere unless you put in the work. And once you get to this point, there's always another one, agree? Isn't this what your careers are based on? Isn't this what your money goals are based on? Isn't this what materialism is based on? Do you see? You can never get to the end of it. Why? Because it never ends. So, not only is this how you're taught or conditioned to behave in order to get the things that you want, you're also taught that if you don't play this game, you're never, ever, ever going to get anywhere. Agree? You're just going to stay here. And if you stay here, the world passes you by. Yes? You're stuck. So that's another feature of third dimensional reality. Stagnation. If you don't get on the train, you're going to stagnate. If you don't play the game, you're going to die. Yes? What else do we know about third dimensional reality? A lot of the systems are built on hierarchy. Of course they are. Because if you're constantly having to go to A to B to C to D to E to F, there's always somewhere else to go to, yes? So there must be someone sitting up the top there somewhere. Agree? Who's sitting on the top? They think they are, but they're not. Because why? Because in this system there's always someone else. There's always more. You never reach the top of the mountain. Do you understand? You can't. Because if someone actually reached the top of the mountain, they would actually drop off the mountain and they wouldn't even be in the game anymore. Do you see? So as long as you're on the mountain, you're sitting at the top, you're still in it. You're still a slave to it. Do you see?